Hey, Salut Friends. Today we are taking a look at The Moon from Frederic Malle. This was released in 2019 and created by Julien Rasquinet for the Desert Gems collection. Now I have talked about my appreciation for Frederic Malle in my other reviews, and yes, I do like the house very much. I'm even a fan of their latest releases, Let It Be Music for a While, Synthetic Jungle, this year's 7 Can Wait and Rosé Cuir. Uncut Gem though, I can take it or leave it. Now Malle had to respond to the oud craze from the mid-2000s in some form. So they launched this new collection called the Desert Gems with The Night in 2014 by Dominique Roupion, a beautiful animalic take on Portrait of a Lady with oud. Then you had Promise in 2017 again by Roupion, which is a spicy, fruity, cypriol oil and leather fragrance. Then there was Dawn in 2018 by Carlos Benaim, a combo of olibanum and oud. Finally, we had The Moon in 2019 by Rasquinet. I really like the celestial theme of the scent names. Now it's not like there were no oud fragrances before, in fact there were a lot. The difference being that Malle was one of the first to openly claim that they use large quantity of natural oud, which was not a recurring theme amongst big niche houses at that point. That reflects in the price as well, we shall come back to that. Except Promise, all the others have oud listed as a note, although I reckon Promise also has some synthetic oud accord. Another difference being that Malle used mostly veteran perfumers for his fragrances, including this collection. But then this was by a relatively new upcoming perfumer, Julien Rasquinet. He was an IFF perfumer at that point and happens to be one of the last apprentices of Pierre Bourdon. Known for his creations such as Creed's Royal Oud, some Naomi Gutsa fragrances, and one of my favorites, Russian Tea from Masque Milano. He was working from the Middle East at the time and is really known for his heavy-handed, bold amber and oriental style fragrances. One of the better contemporary perfumers, so that's probably the reason why Malle chose to work with him. Also being from IFF helps, of course. Now what's going on here? This one opens with an explosion event pretty much. You have several kind of scent profiles almost assaulting your nose. Really a lot going on in the opening. You are bombarded by fruitiness, spiciness, leatheriness, some rosy qualities, and of course the oud. Takes a few minutes to settle down. What I get mostly at the start are those red berries and lychee. You have raspberry, which is sweet, slightly bitter, tart with that rosy, fruity, slightly acidic, dense aroma. Then there is some red currant, which is more on the slightly floral, sour, aromatic side of things. Then there's lychee, which has more smooth, delicate and almost creamy, tropical, fruity qualities. There may be some other fruits or aroma compounds, but these are the main ones. And the fruitiness, it's not just a wisp, like in some other scents like Ombre Nomade from Louis Vuitton. Here it is significantly more prominent and lasts pretty much till the far dry down. The oud, spices and the leather also become more detectable at this point. And yes, it was also compared to Tom Ford's Tuscan leather, which is where everyone's mind goes when you see raspberry and leather. But no, here it is even more in terms of quantity. Very much a sour, a bit pulpy, compote kind of fruitiness. Surprisingly, some amount of freshness in there too. There is some smoky nuances as well. In some Middle Eastern and Eastern European countries, they pour piping hot tea on fruit compote and it releases this almost pungent fruity aroma. Kind of reminded me of that. It is surprisingly good for being made of synthetic accords. We can't tincture lychee or raspberry, so the aroma chemicals can easily go metallic or screechy, but thankfully it is not the case here. It really sets the theme for the dry down of the scent. Everything from then on is seen through this pink ruby red lens. Then you also have the spices kind of dispersed in that sweet cloud of fruitiness. There is saffron, which also has this red, rosy, spicy, earthy aroma and goes very well with the fruits and also sets the stage for the leather to come in the dry down. I'm also getting some cardamom, which gives that fresh, cooling facet. Does not go as far as being mentholated. Then there's also cumin, more of woody, aniseic, slightly sulfuric hints to it. It's really like this dry spices are engulfed in that fruity smoke, almost like tobacco smoke. Something I noticed later was also this slightly candied sweetness, possibly from the violet. When you go on a desert safari, I did once very long ago, and stay over in the desert for a party, you have people smoking these huge shishas with all kinds of fruits and spice-based molasses, fillings and hookah mixes and whatnot. You almost get engulfed in that smoke at times, and the scent is indeed very reminiscent of that smell. Now as you go through the mid, the fruitiness and the spiciness settle down and handshake with the rose. The oud also becomes more prominent. Now we are getting into a familiar territory of rose oud saffron combo. which again could have gone downhill, but it is nothing usual like you would smell in Western wood fragrances. It is really pushing toward that traditional Middle Eastern scent profile, but still manages to balance it with the modern French style of scent creation. As you go through the mid, the evolution to rose from those berries and lychee is very well balanced because of that pre-established rosy red theme. Here it is Turkish rose, which is rich, spicy, velvety, and much more full-bodied than your grass rose Santifolia. However, it is not a prominent note in the style of a common rose oud, more of a supporting note. In fact, that applies to all the notes in the fragrance. The oud is probably the most prominent one, and still it is kind of positioned underneath all those shifting layers till the far dry down. This rosy, sweet, fruity odor is really the more dominating facet for the first couple of hours or so, after which you get the transition that Julien Rasquinet has demonstrated. The contrast at the stage is brilliant. That is the gradual change from the fruity, moist facets of the scent to the dry, resinous, ambery facets. More warm aspects of the scent come through as well, almost like you're going further into the desert. You can experience this in his Russian tea, Fidelis, Santal Headspace, and others. So now that we are moving to the more serious, darker side of the moon, the first thing that is evident is a wallop of frankincense. It has this crystalline, hard, resinous, balsamic quality to it. It is dense, has this sour undertone, and gets more serious like your traditional oud scents. The incense here is also smoky, tying it neatly with the shisha accord in the beginning, almost like it is mildly burning. And all these notes that have been teasing us to showcase this pivoting note, and that is of course the oud. The oud in here is very much that Arabic Middle Eastern style of oud. It is very much that smoking dark oud. It has this ashy medicinal quality to it, almost black, earthy, leathery, oily, slightly camphorous, rubber tire kind of oud. Does not have those jasmine, gasoline or pharmacy kind of facets to it. It is just sufficiently animalic to keep things interesting. Now the brand and the perfumer have said that it indeed has real oud, and I believe them in this case. I see some similarities with the oud in the night, which definitely has real oud. Also both Julien and Ropion worked at IFF. Now how much of it we don't know. Definitely not as much as the night or the dawn. I believe that because of the price. This costs almost half of those two. I reckon they probably even mixed different kinds of oud, maybe even some cypriol oil and synthetics to achieve the final accord. Only the creators know what exactly goes in the formula. Although the oud is close to dominant, like I said, there is no one overwhelming note in the scent. Rather, the oud helps to really anchor the scent. This woody, ambery scent, eclipsed by that fruity, smoky spiciness, underlined with leather, is what you get for most of the life of the scent. As you reach the far dry down, the oud transitions once again to this dry, bulky leather. It is also fairly animalic, very much that bark-like hide leather, not the supple buttery kind. Also smoky and woody with that dry, dusty sandalwood and scratchy, earthy patchouli in the base. The saffron kind of comes back to highlight this leathery facet of the scent, possibly with some added IBQ and castoreum. In the far dry down, you also have a conventional base. This dry amber becomes more prominent, not totally your traditional benzoin labdanum vanilla amber, but rather boosted with amber woods to give it that bombastic quality. It is allegedly IFF's captive called Amber Extreme that Julien likes to overdose in these kind of heavy-handed scents. In fact, it is a bit too much. I don't mind it, but I would have preferred if it was toned down a bit. This dry, ambery, leathery oud with hint of that spiciness and fruitiness is what is left as the scent closes out. Now the performance is huge, just like other desert gems. Lasts till a shower, big projection for the first 5 to 6 hours and settles down closely after that. It seems to stick around whatever it comes in contact with. Jackets, seat belts, scarves, very potent. I have had people tell me that they thought I was in the room after I have left for a couple of hours. It is probably the strongest performing scent in my collection, apart from maybe some attars, but they are their own category. I am a generous sprayer, and honestly I myself don't feel like wearing more than a couple of sprays of this one, and not too often as it can get overwhelming. Of course, for fall and winter, preferably outdoor occasions, would not wear it to the office. Although it is targeted to the Middle East, so what the hell. The pricing is through the desert. I bought it at a discount for basically the price of today's portrait of lady years ago. Now the percentage based increase has resulted in this huge price tag. Of course, I will save my thoughts on the night and dawn for another day. but still the Moon's price is pretty high. I also happen to have a diverse collection with some selected ouds, so I'm fine with owning this as one of the strictly selected few. But yeah, the price tag is outrageous, so due diligence is needed. Overall, it appeals to me. I enjoy this more colorful, warm, festive, opulent take on oud, opposed to those golden black ambers within the Desert Gems collection. Usually ouds are very serious and at times depressing, so I like the playful, romantic, fruity, yet mature take on oud. Definitely has that rich, luxurious quality. It balances well the challenging animalic facets, but still could be a first step into serious oud. I like the celebratory, joyful nature of the scent. In fact, it does not try to directly evoke the moon with grey or white notes, more so the celebration in the desert at night, as you have the looming presence of the moon. I appreciate the contrast, the play of textures, that sand-blasted allusion to desert, play of light and dark, the sincerity to the Middle East, be it the connections to the lunar calendar, Islamic recitations, or even the way of addressing a loved one. It is really like a full circle for Julien Rasquinet in a way, from Royal Oud, which is a very different oud scent compared to this, and in a way for Frederic Malle as well, as this was the last Desert Gem as of now, and I think it will indeed be a satisfactory end to the Desert Gems collection. Really one of the best scents from Rasquinet, probably my favorite Desert Gem and a top 10 Malle for me. So there you go, my thoughts on the Moon from Frederic Malle. Hope you enjoyed it. Till the next video, take care and ciao.